Good morning. Welcome to Hatha Yoga with Carol. Welcome to regular students and anybody new. And I don't always want to single people out, but I know that Sylvie has started to call in from Seashelt where she moved to. So she sent me a note after last week. So that's pretty exciting to have her included in our little virtual community. So things have changed since we talked last week. We're going to start seeing things maybe open up a little in Alberta, so maybe a little more hope, hopefully, for all of us. But it can also bring a lot of added stress. I have family members who are opening businesses, and it's actually, although it's exciting to start getting back to work, it can be scary and stressful as well, worrying about the health of their employees and everybody else. So this week, I've been kind of thinking about, the ways that as we carry on through this, the ways that we find to help alleviate stress, and maybe taking the time to notice where stress might be showing up in our bodies. I finally got to go to the chiropractor yesterday, which is very exciting. And so it's interesting the places that I was feeling out of alignment that I think were probably related to stress and the different ways I'm sitting and moving just because of the different routine. So we're going to get started with a breathing exercise, and I'm going to ask that everybody grab a towel or a blanket, which I didn't grab, just to make sure that, or just to use a little later on. So hopefully, I'm just going to step out of frame for a second, sorry. Grab the blanket. So I'm hoping everyone has one or the other that we can use a little later on. So coming to the comfortable seat, whatever that is for you. I like to sit on the edge of a bolster, maybe a cushion, legs crossed or legs out in front of you, whichever works. Let's close the eyes if we're comfortable with that. If not, we can lower the eyelids, having the gaze come down towards the floor. And let's come to notice the breath. Noticing that sensation of breath at the nostrils. How it's cooler coming into the nasal passages. Maybe even feeling it come down the back of the throat. And as we exhale, feeling the warmer breath coming out across the upper lip. Slowing the breath down. Seeing if we can move towards slowing the inhales and the exhales down to a slow count of 3. Or I guess a count of 3. It doesn't have to be super slow. And then seeing if you can slow that even further to your count of 4. 4 for the inhale. 4 for the exhale. So moving through that pattern a few more times, just letting getting yourself used to that pattern. And then we're going to move towards the square breath, or sometimes called the box breath. So inhaling for that count of 4. Pausing at full for a count of 4. Exhaling for a count of 4. Pausing at empty for a count of 4. Don't worry if it doesn't work out this first round. As we carry on through, you'll probably find that the length will become a little easier to manage. And sometimes it's even helpful to imagine the box. The inhale across the bottom, or the inhale up to the top, the pause over to the right, the exhale back down, and then the pause back over to the beginning. So one thing that I think we've may all noticed in these last few months is usually what happens when people are constantly under stress, which time before this time, that was certainly the case. And now maybe even more people we're noticing are exhibiting signs of stress that maybe didn't before. So when we're under stress for an extended amount of time, we tend to just focus on self-preservation, which is absolutely understandable. But sometimes, especially in people that we're really not used to seeing these behaviors, we might see a lack of compassion, maybe a lack of community concern. So when we notice that in somebody, or maybe even notice it in ourselves, maybe just showing a little kindness, maybe actually showing that compassion to that person, because it's probably not their normal state. It's probably that continued stress, just kind of forcing them onto that, only worrying about, like I say, that self-preservation. And just a few more rounds of the square breath. So the square breath is used widely, not only in yoga studios, but often in counseling, and lots of other modalities where they're trying to help people manage their stress. So whenever you get to the next exhale, just releasing the pattern. Coming back to our normal breathing pattern. Maybe we're noticing that it's a little longer, smoother, deeper. And just for a few minutes, let's imagine that we can feel the face softening. The shoulders softening, moving away from the ears. We're feeling the hands feeling heavy, sinking into the thighs. The belly is feeling soft. And we're feeling the sit bones really sink heavy into the mat or whatever it is we're sitting on. Just really making sure that we're signaling to the body it's okay for us to switch on that parasympathetic nervous system. It doesn't mean we're not going to move or challenge the body. It just means we don't need to be ready to bolt away at any moment. We can slowly open the eyes if they were still closed. Let's inhale the arms up overhead. Exhale, bringing the hands together in prayer in front of the body. Let's do that 2 more times. Excellent. I'm going to actually come off sitting on the bolster. Sitting flat, I might switch up which way my legs are crossed. And this time when I inhale, arms up. On the exhale, I'm going to fold forward. So it doesn't matter how forward I come. I'm trying to reach my hands out so I feel a bit of a stretch in my shoulders. If I need to come up on fingertips, that's fine. I'm going to keep my chin slightly tucked. You might bring it a little bit more towards the chest. And maybe after a breath or two, I might walk those fingertips out just a little bit more. And then let's slowly walk both hands to the right. So I'm sort of framing that right knee. The hands might come closer to the body. I might reach them out and come up onto fingertips. And I might even stretch the right arm a little further ahead than the left. I'm starting to feel this stretch in my hips, but I'm trying to stretch out the shoulders a little as well. And then on the next inhale, let's walk the hands all the way over to the left. Again, feel free to bring the hands closer or maybe stretched out onto fingertips. I might stretch that left hand a little further. And then inhale, bringing the hands back to center. Let's coming all the way up. Let's lift the shoulders up, back and down. Nice, slow circles. They might be big, they might be small. It depends on how it feels for your shoulders. But the key, I think, is to move them slowly. We want to encourage that synovial fluid to get in there and lubricate the joints. Changing direction. So up, forward, down, back. And then coming back to neutral. Hands holding on to the thighs or the knees. Let's do seated cat-cows. So on the inhale, now I'm going to keep my neck neutral. On the inhale, I'm drawing my chest forward and my shoulders back. Exhale, round in the back, shoulders forward. You might drop your chin. I'm going to keep mine a little more neutral. So inhale forward, feeling that stretch across the front of the chest, bringing those shoulder blades together or towards each other. Exhale, round. And then coming back to neutral. Let's drop the left ear towards the left shoulder. We'll bring the left hand up and over and laying it on the side of the head. Maybe the fingers cover the ear or just above. And then reaching this right hand down towards the mat. Really stretching that space below the ear, maybe all the way to the top of the shoulder. Inhale back through center, right ear to right shoulder, right hand up and over, laying it on the side, left hand stretching down towards the mat. You might even gently pull the head a bit to the right with the hand. Just depends on how that feels. And inhale back to center. We're going to come around to hands and knees. So placing the blanket under the knees if you need the extra padding. Hands under shoulders, knees under hips. Let's stretch out the hips a little, pushing the hips to the right. Looking over the left shoulder. Inhale through center, pushing the hips to the left, looking over the right. Back and forth a few times. I'm just realizing I probably could have tucked my cord into my shirt. And let's come back to center. Let's tuck the toes. So if you know it's not comfortable for you to sit back on your heels, you can push into the hands, pushing the sit bones back. Or you can walk the hands back, sitting back on the toes, shoulders coming over hips if you can manage that, keeping the weight more forward if that's too much pressure. And if we are sitting up this way, maybe even grabbing that right arm and pulling it across, really pulling that right shoulder, untucking the toes if you need to, switching arms. And then let's walk the hands back forward, untuck the toes, tapping them out. I'm going to bring the right hand a little bit closer to the center of the mat, keeping the right knee exactly where it is. Kick that right foot off the right edge, stretching the left leg out. Let's bring left hand to hip to begin. Opening up that left shoulder, and then maybe reaching that left arm to the ceiling. And maybe lifting that left leg. So this can be often called a variation of side plank. I also think it's a variation of half moon. 2 more breaths, touching the foot down if you need to. And then on the exhale, let's lower that left foot, coming up on the fingertips of the right hand, coming all the way up, left hand on left thigh, right arm up and over, gate pose. So that right foot might actually come straight behind the right knee. Exhale, let's bring that right hand down, and then pushing the hips back, let's bring the arms forward. And then bringing the shoulders over the wrists, and maybe bringing a little bend to that knee if you feel like that's too much. The foot can be pointed forward, it can be pointed away. Very dependent on how your knee feels. And then let's bring the left hand in front of the right knee, right hand to the right hip, and open up that right shoulder. I know my shoulders are a bit tight. I'm not going to reach that right arm up, but some of you will be able to do that. 1 more breath. And then exhale, bringing the right hand back down. Let's walk the hands back towards the knee. We'll bring the right hand down to the mat, left hand beside. Coming back to all fours. Let's do those hip drops just to release any built up tension. And then I'm just going to turn around. This time we'll bring the left hand a little bit more to the middle of the mat, kicking the left foot off the edge, right leg out beside, right hand to hip. Let's open up the right shoulder, and then maybe reaching that right arm to the ceiling. Maybe lifting that left leg. Variation of half moon. You might even turn and look at this top right hand. Turn your head. 1 more breath. And then lowering the foot, coming up on these left fingertips. Right hand to right thigh, left arm up and over. Again, you might choose to have a little bend in that knee. The foot might point away or point more forward. Usually the knee dictates what is available for that shape. Exhale, left arm down. Pushing the hips back, let's bring the hands down to the floor. Bringing shoulders over wrists. Again, adjusting the knee if needed, but maybe getting a stretch up on that inner part of the leg, inner thigh. I'm going to bring my right hand closer to in front of my left knee, left hand on my waist, and twisting to the left or turning to the left. Again, some of you might have the openness in the shoulders to lift that left arm. You can even come up on fingertips. And then exhale, hands back down, walking them back towards the knee. Left hand down, right hand beside. Let's drop those hips a few times. Then walking the hands back to the knees, right foot forward. We'll press into that right thigh and come to standing. So finding our mountain. So maybe a few wiping motions with the feet to bring them in line under the hips. Let's inhale the shoulders up to the ears, rolling them down and back. Palms forward. Really feeling that connection between the feet and the mat. Feeling that my shoulders are stacked over my hips, hips over knees, knees over ankles. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, deep bend in the knees as we slowly fold forward. First forward fold, let's hang out here. Knees can be deeply bent, belly resting on thighs, fingers reaching towards the mat. Doesn't matter if they touch. I might sway a few times, really feeling the weight of my arms pulling those shoulders forward. Maybe reaching for opposite elbows. Exhale, fold. Inhale to half lift, shoulders back. I can still have a bend in my knees if I need to. Pressing the hands into the shins, reaching the crown of the head forward. Really lengthening the spine. Exhale, fold. And inhale, arms up. Rise up. Exhale, hands to prayer. Let's move through that one more time without pause. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, fold. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold. And inhale, arms up. Rise up. Exhale, hands to prayer. I'm just going to turn towards you so you can see what I'm going to do next a little bit better. I'm going to interlock my hands. I have to get them underneath my cord. Placing them behind the neck, thumbs pointed down. So, and this is a pretty subtle movement for a lot of us. On the inhale, I'm going to pull my elbows back and lift my chest. Some of us might come into a bit of a back bend, looking up towards the ceiling. And then on the exhale, I round my back and bringing my elbows forward, chin to chest. So inhale, look up, lift, maybe slight back bend. Exhale, rounding the back, elbows forward. So let's move through 3 or 4 more of these. Again, your movements might be quite small, especially if the neck and shoulders are quite tight or tense. Last one. Let's bring the hands back down to the sides. Move through our sun salutation. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, fold. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold. And inhale, arms up. Rise up. Exhale, hands to prayer. Let's step back with our left foot into warrior two. So back foot more or less parallel. Checking the stance. If I can really comfortably bend past my ankle, I might want to widen my stance a little. Front heel lines up with about the arch of the back foot. I'm pressing down and out with my feet, activating the legs. Inhaling the arms to shoulder height. My teacher told me all good warriors look behind them, so we have a quick look at that back arm just to see if it is where we think it is. Settling the gaze over the middle front finger, maybe directing that knee a bit more towards the pinky side of the foot. Big, deep breaths. Trying to embody the qualities of a warrior, the strength, stamina, courage, all things we need at all times, but maybe especially now. And then I'm just going to turn around to show you what I'm doing with my hands. I'm going to interlock my hands behind my back and then pull them towards my right hip. So my shoulders are quite tight. Your hand might come a little more forward. Your elbows might be closer together. Whatever. Everyone is going to have a little bit different look. And the beauty right now is we can't compare. So just pulling, really I'm pulling that left hand as close as I can to my right hip. I am trying to bring my shoulder blades together. Couple more breaths here. And then exhale, release the hands. Let's give them a shake. We're going to pivot that right foot forward so both feet are pointed in the same direction. Hands at the tops of the thighs. Let's push the hips back. Knees are slightly bent. When we come to halfway, maybe imagine pointing the tailbone to the ceiling as in cow pose. And then coming further forward. Of course, staying halfway if the low back is sore. Otherwise, letting the hands come to somewhere on the sides of the legs. Maybe they reach down. You can have a deep bend in the knees if needed. Walking the hands out so that you feel the stretch in the shoulders and the back. And then just shifting again so that the shoulders come over the wrists. There can be a slight tuck to the chin. So this is wide leg down dog. Maybe even seeing if you can walk the hands out a little further. And then shoulders over the wrists again. Maybe just offering a little more stretch in the legs. And then exhale, walking the hands all the way back to in between the feet. Slight bend in the knees, hands to the sides of the legs. Really pressing into the outside edges of the feet to bring ourselves back to standing. Heel toe the feet together. Let's move through our sun salutation. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, fold. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold. And inhale, arms up. Rise up. Exhale, hands to prayer. So this time we'll step back with the right foot more or less parallel to the short edge of the mat, checking the stance. I always say it's probably different every time we come to the mat. Inhaling the arms to shoulder height. quick look at that back arm, and then settling the gaze over the middle front finger. Maybe pointing that knee a little bit more towards the pinky side of the front foot. Big deep breaths. Of course, we're always gentle pressure in the feet, as if I was trying to move them apart. And then we're going to interlock the hands behind the back and pulling them towards that left hip. I'm trying to bring my shoulder blades together behind me. If my arms are closer together, with people with a little bit more open shoulders, you might be trying to bring the elbows together. I got hair issues, as does everyone else. Bad self-bang cut. 2 more breaths. And then release the bind in the hands. Give them a good shake. Left foot forward. This time we'll heel toe the feet together right away. Come to stand at the top of the mat. Move through our sun salutation. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, fold. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold. And inhale, arms up. Rise up. Exhale, hands to prayer. So just checking again that our feet are hip distance apart. At this point, when we're a little warmed up, you might place 2 fists between the big toes just to see if they fit. We're going to come into chair pose. So as I sit back as if I'm sitting into a chair, I'm lifting my arms. So weight is in my heels. I can maybe lift my toes. And I can choose where my arms want to be. I might be more comfortable having them come straight off my shoulders. Or I might be able to begin to lift them, having the thumbs come back. It's almost like I'm holding a beach ball between my hands. Don't hold your breath. Maybe next exhale I can sit just a little bit deeper. And then let's exhale, fold. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold. And inhale, arms up. Rise up. And on the exhale this time, let's sit right back into that chair. Maybe lifting the arms a bit if they weren't last time. Toes are lifted where the weight is in the heels. As I reach my sit bones back, I stretch my arms forward. 2 more breaths. Then exhale, fold. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold. And inhale, arms up. Rise up. Exhale, hands to prayer. So staying at the top of your mat, just turning so you can see me a little bit better. Let's inhale, arms up, grabbing the right wrist with the left hand. And exhale, bending to the left, pulling that right arm over. Inhale through center. Exhale, holding on to the left wrist. Bending to the right. Let's do that one more time each side. And then exhale, fold. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold. And inhale, arms up. Rise up. Exhale, hands to prayer. I'm just going to take a little sip of water. We're going to come into our balance. So not knowing what everyone's got for walls nearby. If you do have a wall nearby, feel free to use it. We're going to come into, or even if you have a chair nearby too, we're going to come into a bent knee balance. So feet hip distance. Let's bring the arms out to the sides. I always say we're coming into our Karate Kid shape. Bringing that right knee up. And then let's take the left hand, grabbing the outside of the right knee and beginning to twist to the right. So touching this right foot down if needed. Don't hold your breath. You can keep the right hand on hip if that feels better. 2 more breaths. And inhale, let's come back forward. Bringing that right foot back down. Let's bring the feet a little bit more than hip distance. And just rock the hips back and forth. Feet back to hip distance. Arms out to the sides. Left knee up. Reaching down, grabbing the outside of the left knee. And then twisting to the left. Don't hold your breath. You can keep hand on hip if that's better. You can touch this toe down. Or you can reach and hold on to something. 2 more breaths. And then inhale, twisting back forward, left foot down. Feet hip distance. Let's do a few hip circles. Changing direction. Ooh, that was a good knee crack. I don't know if that came over my mic or not. Let's come back to the top of the mat. Final salutation. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, fold. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, deep bend in the knees to come down to all fours. Let's stretch the left leg behind us. Bring it back behind the right. Pushing the hips to the left and looking over the right shoulder. And bringing that left knee back, stretching out the right leg. Back behind the left. Pushing the hips to the right and looking over the left shoulder. And bringing the right knee back. Let's walk the knees back so we come down onto our bellies. We'll bend up the elbows. One hand on top of each other, resting the forehead. Maybe rolling the forehead from side to side a few times. And then staying here for several breaths in forward-facing Shavasana. So as we take these few breaths here, transitioning from standing to supine postures. I'm just going to share with you some affirmations from a teacher I follow named Anna Guest Jelly. And everyone is, I would think right now would be a great practice maybe to come up with a few of your own affirmations to repeat during the day, but these ones always resonated with me, so I'll share them with you now. May I greet my body with gentleness. May I soften when life invites me to harden. May I appreciate my body a little more in this moment, just as it is. May I greet my body with gentleness. May I soften when life invites me to harden. May I appreciate my body a little more in this moment, just as it is. Just a couple more breaths, maybe thinking about which one of those affirmations, if any, resonate for you. And then on the next inhale, stretching the arms forward, palms down. You can have a slight bend in the elbows if that feels better for the shoulders. My chin is going to be slightly tucked. My feet are hip distance apart. We're going to move through a little bit of I guess I call it the Superman variation or the locust variation. But on the inhale, I'm going to lift my right arm and my left leg and lower. Then left arm and right leg and lower. And then both arms and both legs lower. So let's move through that a couple more times, alternating right and left, lower, left and right, lower, and both. Let's do that 2 more times. And on this last one where we lift everything, let's hold for a couple breaths. Don't hold your breath. And then exhale, lower. Bending the elbows again, one hand on top of each other. Resting the forehead. Let's rock the hips back and forth. Then bending the knees, rocking the legs back and forth. Bringing the hands under the shoulders. Pushing ourselves to all fours. Pushing the hips back towards the heels. You can come down onto forearms. Maybe you can comfortably reach the arms forward. And then slowly rolling ourselves back up to noble pose. Let's move through some shoulder circles. Changing direction. Excellent. Now we're going to use our rolled up towel or blanket. So we're going to come onto our backs, knees bent. And if you have a block will work too. I'm going to press into my feet, lifting my hips, and place that blanket right behind that flat part of my low back. So we're coming into a supported bridge. So heels are still, I'm bringing them as close to my sit bones as is comfortable. Palms down. And even though I might be able to lift my hips higher in bridge, we are going to take this supported version. A few breaths just in this gentle back bend to begin. And then let's pull the right knee into the chest. And release. Pull the left knee into the chest. And release. Let's alternate a few times. And then bringing both knees into the chest. Let's hold for a breath or two. And then hands back down to the floor. Let's raise the feet. So if you didn't have something to tuck under your hips, you might do one leg at a time, holding behind the thigh. Otherwise, we're all going to do a few ankle circles. Changing direction. Pointing and flexing the feet. And then coming to stillness with the toes pointed. Let's bring that left foot back down to the mat. Let's make those circles with the right leg. So it's like I'm drawing a circle with my big toe. I can have a bend in my knee, but the leg is staying. So I'm not just moving my ankle, I'm moving the whole leg. Again, we're trying to encourage that synovial fluid into the hip joint, changing direction. So the focus today has been on neck, shoulders, let's change legs, and some hips, because for a lot of us, those are pretty common places that will hold tension. Changing direction. And then bending that left leg. Let's press into the feet, lifting the hips, bringing them back down to the mat, bringing the soles of the feet together, knees open, tucking something behind the thighs if you know you need to, or bringing the feet into, or knees into the opposite shape if that open shape just doesn't work for you. Then let's bring the hands above the body and rub them together, really creating some heat. And once you feel like you've got some warmth going, let's place the left hand and then the right hand over top of the heart. Just letting that heat radiate. Coming back to that deep breath pattern. Doesn't need to be the square breath, but maybe that counting of the length of the inhale and making it equal to the count of the exhale. The counting pattern, that focus on the breath, is proven to immediately begin to calm the nervous system. Might not be 100% effective, but it's sending it into the right direction. And once that heat dissipates a little, feel free to bring that right hand back to the belly or both hands to the sides, whatever is comfortable to hold this position for a couple more breaths. So I think I used to like to say, I think we chatted, because lots of times in my classes we kind of go back and forth a little, so I certainly miss that. So at the risk of just being the person that's talking all the time, I think it's important that we all find that thing or things that helps us release stress during these times. Maybe it's getting outdoors, maybe it's digging in the garden, maybe it is tearing a closet apart and feeling the satisfaction of seeing the organization at the end. Maybe it is, I think this was circulating around. I don't know if anybody really saw it, but watch somebody do a sun salutation on their deck and then scream at the top of their lungs at the end. So maybe that's what you need to release that pent-up energy. And then if we notice that person that, even if we don't know them, they're showing that irritation or lack of compassion, maybe spending a moment thinking about the fact that they could just be really, really stressed. And that's not their intent. But that's just the manifestation of them worrying about looking after their survival or their survival of their family. One more breath. And then let's slowly bring the knees together, walking the feet to the outside edges of the mat, letting the knees fall towards one another. Just that little bit of a counter stretch for the outer hip. And then bring the knees over the ankles. Let's windshield wiper the knees a few times. And then eventually letting the knees fall to the left. I can maybe stretch my arms out from my shoulders. I can turn my head towards the right hand. It's just a little bit more of just a looser, gentler twist. Doesn't matter if my knees connect with the ground. I can bring one knee on top of the other if that feels better. Otherwise, I'm just letting them sort of hang out, falling to the left. And then inhale through center, letting them both fall to the right. Again, maybe I turn my gaze to my left hand. And then inhale the knees back to center. Let's bring both knees into the chest, giving them a nice tight squeeze, rolling a few times from side to side. And then stretching out into whatever our favorite shape is for Shavasana. Maybe heels reaching out for the corners of the mat, arms straight out at the sides. This is my preferred. I also kind of call it, I just got the bed to myself shape, where you just kind of stretch out and use up every inch. Feeling those shoulder blades flat on the mat. Feel free to place something under the head, but don't have it so thick that the chin is really pointing forward. We want the spine to stay neutral. If you've got a face cloth or an eye pillow to cover your eyes, that might be helpful. Begin to feel the connection between your body and the floor. Notice each point that connects your body to the floor. Begin to feel the heaviness of the body sinking into the floor. Now come to notice the breath. Feel the belly rise and fall. Feel the chest rise and fall. Begin to feel the lightness of the body as you bring awareness to your breath. The body is completely relaxed. The mind is completely aware. The body is feeling light. Bring awareness to your toes. Envision the toes attached to your left foot. Left big toe, fourth toe, third toe, second toe, pinky toe. The left foot, the heel, the sole of the foot, the ankle, the whole of the left foot, the right foot, the right big toe, fourth toe, third toe, second toe, pinky toe, the right foot, the heel, the sole of the foot, the ankle, the whole of the right foot, both feet together, the left leg, the shin, the calf muscle, the knee, the thigh, the left buttock, the whole of the left leg, the right leg, the shin, the calf muscle, the knee, the thigh, the right buttock, the whole of the right leg, both legs together, the hips, the lower back, the middle back, the upper back, the whole back, left shoulder blade, right shoulder blade, left shoulder, left upper arm, left elbow, left lower arm, left wrist, left hand, right shoulder, right upper arm, right elbow, right lower arm, right wrist, right hand, both arms together, the chest, the ribs, the belly, the whole of the front body, the neck, the back of the head, the forehead, the left eyebrow, the right eyebrow, the space between the eyebrows, the left eye, the right eye, the left cheek, the right cheek, the jaw, the tongue, the lips, the chin, the throat, the whole of the head, the whole head together, the whole body together. Relax and feel heavy. Sink into the floor. Relax the whole body. Relax. I'll bring you back in a moment. Begin to take in a deeper breath, bringing some awareness back to the body. Maybe opening and closing the hands, moving the feet, reaching the arms up overhead, giving yourself a big good morning stretch, bringing the knees into the chest, giving them a nice tight squeeze. Maybe rolling a few times from side to side before eventually landing on the right or left side, whichever is most comfortable. Taking a breath or two in fetal position. And then when you're ready, pushing yourself back up to seated, bringing the hands together in front of your chest in prayer. And I did forget to mention, but in any of these classes, if you wish to stay in Shavasana, please do. I'm just going to end with a poem by Rumi. Let us fall in love again and scatter gold dust all over the world. Let us become a new spring and feel the breeze drift in heaven's scent. Let us dress the earth in green, and like the sap of a young tree, let the grace from within us sustain us. Let us carve gems out of our stony hearts and let them light our path to love. The glance of love is crystal clear, and we are blessed by its light. Thank you very much for sharing your practice with me this morning. Namaste.